would also ask that you silence your cell phones and remove hats as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, if we could do the roll call, please, Ms. Kelly.
Haney. Hanson.
Present.
Montague.
Present.
Murphy.
Present.
Odell.
Present.
Rampart.
Present.
And Moore.
Present. All right, I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll support that. There's a motion and support to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, first this evening, as always, are our reports, and we will start with our student board representatives, and tonight, we have Ella with us.
Summer will be here later. So starting at the high school, the varsity quiz bowl team are now Flint Metro League champs for the 5th year in a row, and they also reached their 100th win, which makes them 100-0 since October of 2023. Spring sports are up and busy. Boys lacrosse has their home opener right now against Grand Blanc, and track had their first meet today. LHS Student Council is holding a Spirit Week next week in honor of spring break starting. And prom is April 25th, and then tickets will start being sold April 6th, and it'll start at $75 and then go up $5 for the following weeks. Moving on to Central, the Shamrock Shuffle was a success, and almost 3/4 of Central students attended the event put on by PALS, and I know the DJ was well liked and the games were really fun. At Hyatt, both literacy night and the kindergarten expo were very big hits with the families, and I believe Mr. Ciesielski has more to say on that topic. And then students and staff really enjoyed the recent reading assemblies provided by PALS. And moving on to Summer's notes, he says at Linden Elementary, they are continuing to enjoy their camp theme as part of March's Reading Month. And then on March 24th, they're hosting their bike assembly, and the Masonic Lodge will donate bikes and other prizes to reward students for reading. And then on March 25th and 27th, students will attend a soups assembly and learn about exotic animals. And finally, at the middle school, on Monday and Tuesday, SOAR leaders hid shamrocks around the school for the 6th graders to find, and the class with the most will receive a prize. And then the National Junior Honor Society Spring Fling Dance / Open Gym is 2:45 to 4:30 earlier this week. And then March 18th, 19th, and 20th are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade class meetings. And this Friday is the end of quarter 3. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you so much. Next is the superintendent report, Mr. Ciesielski.
Thank you, and welcome everybody this evening. A couple things to report out on. As Ella mentioned, on Wednesday, March 11th, families enjoyed the opportunity to learn more about our ECC and kindergarten programming. This event offered families a chance to meet staff, learn about academics, social expectations, receive enrollment information, connect with different parent groups, and experience highlights such as riding a bus and sampling cafeteria offerings. And it was a success, there's no doubt about it. I'd like to thank our ECC and kindergarten staff for putting this on and coming up with this kind of newer version of Kindergarten Roundup, and kudos. On that note, the application window for GSRP opened on March 1st. Currently, we have 89 applicants in the queue. For the 25-26 school year, we ended up with 96 slots. So we're getting really close to our whole harmless number already. The allocation window for GSRP slots has not yet opened, so we're waiting for that word anytime now. SpongeBob the Musical. If you didn't have the opportunity to attend the SpongeBob the Musical show last week, you missed out. One of the best performances I have ever witnessed. So congratulations to our directors, Bill Hoffman, John Bennett, and all the students who played a part in making this the greatest show on earth. Summer learning programs. Linden Middle School will be unavailable to house summer learning programs due to the bond work. We have decided that Hyatt Elementary would be the best location for the summer program this year. It's easy for Eagle Club students to attend, and there are many students who will be able to walk to the program as we're planning limited bus runs. More information on our summer learning programs will be released soon. On Monday, Greg Vadez and I met with representatives from Barton Mallow to review their utilization study program that could help us in determining population trends for Linden community schools. I anticipate additional information will be provided to the board as we work through the logistics of the study. And then board members, the spring 3-district board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 25th. Linden will be hosting the meeting. If you are interested in attending, please contact Michelle. Just a reminder that we cannot have more than 3 board members in attendance. And I know I sent an email out to you guys earlier. We currently have Brooke and Tabitha, who have at least volunteered at this point to attend the meeting. That's all I have.
All right, very good, thank you, Russ. Any board members with reports this evening? Mr. Montague?
Thank you, Ms. Luck. Good evening, everybody. Good to see all of you. I attended the Genesee County Association of School Board Members Scholarship Review meeting last week. There is an opportunity for 6 schools out of the 23 in Genesee County to give away scholarships of $750. I can tell you I've done this for, I think this is my 3rd year, and it just gets more and more competitive every year. We had a really strong candidate from Linden. Unfortunately, in the first round, and this is the way it should be set up, the school cannot vote for themselves. So I will say that Linden unfortunately did get a few votes, but ultimately did not make the final cut in the 6 that got voted. So the 6 schools that are getting scholarships are students from Bendel, Carmen Ainsworth, Davison, Goodrich, Graham Blank, and Montrose. So congratulations to those schools and those students. And I just wanted to echo Mr. Ciesielski's praise of SpongeBob musical. I brought my playbook if anyone wanted to see it. It was awesome. I believe Ms. Luck and Ms. Hanson, I don't know if anyone else were also there, and Ms. Odell. It was fantastic, and I saw, now that I'm following on social media, that there's already something posted that says Shrek 2027. So that is very exciting and just professional. From every detail was thought of, from the attendance and ticket buying to the program, and really awesome. What a great kickoff to bring theater back to Linden Community Schools. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else back there this evening? Yeah, just to echo what Mr. Montague said, yeah, the SpongeBob musical was amazing. I think anybody who attended probably would agree with that. I was just blown away by the talent of the students too, like middle schoolers, just singing their hearts out, and it was really cool. So I did forget to mention at the last board meeting, the week prior to the last board meeting, so this must have been end of February, I was able to attend at the former VFW Hall, now I guess the Linden Community Center. The VFW hosted the Winners for Patriot Pen and Voice of Democracy, which Linden students had some acknowledgements of students both from the middle school and the high school for that. So they honored a few students, also Boy Scout who had done some work up at the Fairview Cemetery over the summer, a tremendous amount of work actually as an Eagle Scout project, and then also Teacher of the Year award winner there. So that was really cool to be able to attend that. It's nice to see the VFW, the veterans, a lot of them are like the older veterans in the community, really enjoy having the opportunity to interact with the community members, and they get a big kick out of the students being there and talking about them. So that was cool. Mr. DeLille and Mr. Gates were there with me as well that evening. So also with regard to the 3-district board meeting, I am unable to attend that night next Wednesday, so thank you for those that have already volunteered, and if we have one more, that would be great also. That's all I have this evening, so then we will move along. We do not have any special presentations or recognitions this evening, so we'll move on to administrative updates, and up first is Mr. Gates with an update on LHS virtual programming.
Thanks for having me. This is just LHS data. And when I first was tasked with it, I asked Mrs. Kissel, like, where do I start? And so she gave me the research process. This is everything I'm going over, but this research process, this part, not to bore you, she said this is where you're gonna get all your data. So we got every single kid who's ever taken an online class, and it printed off their transcripts. We went through them individually to figure out every single schedule, their success rate, to figure out, to dive into data to see where we're at with all that. So it was a fairly lengthy process, that took a while to work through. It doesn't include data for those kids who have one-off classes, so for those kids who are in GCI and they come back and they're in-person and online class, it's those who are strictly 100% online outside of our school. So there's two different graphs, and I wanna make sure I have you guys understand the difference between the blue 363 and the orange 287. There were 363 transcripts. Some of those kids repeated themselves, so you see that one kid was in 4 years, 19 kids were in 3 years, 35 were in 2 years, so there's only 287 kids who were online. There were 363 transcripts that went through. Out of those 287, shockingly, 48 left, which means they didn't finish school through Linden. Now, some of the why, they're not here, I can't talk to them of why they had left. But many of them had left based either on lack of success, because I looked at what their transcript showed. We have a big accountability to a communication that has to happen with online, that I'll kind of show you later. 48 ended up coming back into the LEA over those years. Our LEA has been very successful years. I think I presented on them last year, 2 years ago. 88 returned to traditional. Again, this is also the time where we had A and B days. So we had the COVID time where kids were bouncing back and forth once in a while, which also speaks for 123 being online for one semester. Then they had tried it one semester, then they came back. They might have been here for the AB days. They might have moved over to online. So there's a lot of, uncertainty why kids were bouncing around at that time as well. We did have 103 finish online, which means that they graduated through the Linden virtual school. Just wanted to break down like success rates. So again, we just looked at pass versus fail. And again, the 2020 to 2021 was our in-person protocols we had. So the numbers were quite high with the classes taken. The numbers obviously not divisible by 6, because we have some kids taking 2 classes online, some doing 6 online every semester. Depends if they're involved with early middle college, with GCI, with other things. So there's a lot of different schedule breakdowns and programming that go about it. I can't explain why there was least success in 23, 24. There's nothing that really necessarily jumped out, but overall, it was a 78.6% pass rate. Some things that did jump out, kids who had GCI or early middle college in their schedule, there was 2 class failures total for any kid paired with it. So the numbers on this slide would drop significantly, removing those kids who were in early middle college or GCI. And again, just the 48 kids who came back to LA, they still graduated through the Linden High School. I did reach out to a few neighboring schools. They have about 5 to 7 staff members minimally. They have the 4 core subjects, a counselor, an administrator, some support staff. As I mentioned, attendance is very labor intensive. Anytime you do 2 interaction with online kids, it's not like you're here, you're not here. It is more of the teacher communicating with the student communicating back, the teacher communicating back, and then documenting it in Synergy through a communication tab, and then putting the CP into attendance, which is communication positive. So to report back to the state, there's a lot more stuff with it. With the success rate, I think it ended up being, on average, the kids passed 9.36 classes. I think the percentage came down to 70%. We do look at a lot of things, what's best for the kids. Are they going to a 4-year college? Many kids who wanted to go in, who wanted online struggled, were attendance problems here in school, and they struggled with online themselves. So there's a lot of different pieces that is unknown, just based on the fact you can't have conversations with those who have already finished and or left. But again, we've always had a great program with our LAA. moving forward, we're still offering virtual programming. We, we do look at medical stuff. We have conversations with people quite a bit with medical situations, and those paired with GCI, early middle college, and then others, as I mentioned, with the GCI situation where they come back late. Kids who have AP classes and they can't fit regular classes into their schedule. We get them an online class to make sure we complete all the requirements. Any questions that we have?
All right, thank you very much. I for one, I'm sure the rest of the board would echo this. We really appreciate all the effort that you put into this investigation, and I feel good about the data that you've collected and what you're presenting to us, and, you know, the whys and why nots, and what we already have in place. So, thank you for that. I know, as you kind of mentioned, that, you know, online isn't for everyone, and I know a lot of students and maybe even parents think it's like a good, maybe quick fix for some issues, but a lot of times students who aren't, you know, being successful in a classroom are gonna be less successful in an online environment without specific guidance. We see it even at the college level, you know, a student is struggling with Calc 1 and they're like, oh, I'll take it online. Well, it's probably not gonna be much easier. It takes a lot of discipline, and then of course there's barriers now too with all of the AI support that students will have access to, so online learning that's like a whole nother, you know, discussion. So, I feel good about what you have found here and what you brought back to us, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from board members? Go ahead, Ms. Raper.
Thank you for doing the investigation. I'm an advocate of online schooling. I just want to put that out there. I do appreciate your research. One thing I'd like to maybe do, if you could do further research, is the positive feedback. Because even if the negative feedback's here, there is positive. And just full disclosure, my kids both did online. They were all A's and B's. But I also had to help them quite a bit because there was not teacher involvement. We did try other online schools where there was some teacher involvement where you would Zoom if there was an issue. So I think there's some kinks that can be worked out. And then also when we do research, can we find out how many students wanted to do this program but were denied? Because if we have high achieving students that want to do this program instead of just going to GCI, that can make the data go up big time in positivity. And I do agree with Ms. Luck that if you do have a child that is struggling for attendance or that is struggling academically, this program may not be the right fit, and LA would be much better. But I don't want to take away academic opportunities for students who are more self-regulated that can do the work. With the future of AI, there is so many work from home jobs, online college, it's not a one fit for all. And I want to retain students here and not have them leave for other districts or other online programs. I know you guys have been doing fantastic. I just want every opportunity for the taxpayers and for students to use a program like this if we can create it down the road. Actually, not right now, but I appreciate everything you've done. I just want to see the positives, and my kids would probably be some feedback for you past students. I will give permission for you to collect that data.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions? Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Ms. Luck. Thank you, Mr. Gates, for the presentation. In regards to the 48 students that left for another school, are you certain they went to another school? How do you track that?
Again, the tracking piece, they felt that exit form of where they're going or why they're leaving, but once we send the paperwork over to the school, there's no tracking that goes past that. It was based off of me looking at the transcripts and saying that they never finished here at Linden High School. So I couldn't give data based on.
So I'm just looking for, you know, obviously truancy situation here, where the person just never goes to school again. Do we know that in fact, does the state care about that? That the fact that the student left our program and went somewhere?
So we don't pass off the paperwork until we get some enrollment from the other school. So once we get the enrollment, then we send off the paperwork, and then the truancy and the piece of them going to school is then their responsibility.
So how does the state know that some of the kids responded and went to another school? Do they get some sort of form from the other school that says, hey, this kid was at Linden and now they're at our school?
So I can step in if you don't mind. So as Mike mentioned, if a student goes to another school, whether it be online or in person, we get information from that new school that says, this student is enrolling in our school, please send us their information. So we do that. And then that school now has them on their rolls, we call it in the pupil accounting world.
Sure.
So they're accountable to the state because now that student is part of that school district. So as the state goes through with FTEs and funding and count days, that's where that student is being reported by that other school at that point.
So if we don't receive information from another school district, that the kid went to another school district, are we required to post that to the state saying, this person's out there and they don't seem to be going anywhere?
So that's where like, we follow up. So if a kid says he's going to another school and they're absent every day, they're still reported to come. So I do the tracking, our attendance secretary does the tracking, so we track them until they're no longer our students. So that's when I would fill out the truancy piece. So as soon as they do a request for records release, then it's the next school that has to.
So of those 48 that left Linden to go to another school, how many of them do you know actually went to another school?
Once we get the paperwork, or let me take it back, off the transcript,
48?
they weren't a dropout of our school, so to speak. It was just based off of me looking at the transcript itself. So whether they left after their sophomore year, whether they left after their senior year, at that point, I don't have any data from that.
We don't exit that student until we get the request from
The new school.
Right. So there we go. We had 48 leave. How many of them sent paperwork back from another school? It was 48?
Yeah,
Okay. So they're all accounted for?
they would have to be, yep, absolutely.
Great, that's good, the state cares a little bit.
And again, that number, it was COVID times, people had a tough time with jobs, people were struggling with other things, so I mean, there's a ton of different reasons why someone may or may not have been around for that, so I mean,
Right.
it's probably skewed in a high range of, there was a tough time for everybody.
Yeah, it was. Moving on to the success rate and classes passed, the first 2 years, 2021, 22, were the COVID impact years of major note. Would you think because there was some more dedicated students that were going that route because they didn't want to get involved in the in-person communication or education at that time, is that why the percent of pass was a little higher than it was later on in 22, 23, when the numbers dropped substantially to more or less kids that weren't participating?
It could be a combo of a lot of things, like, at that time, we had A and B days, we had full-fledged teachers that had 35 kids, and they were responsible for those online ones. Online now, it's one-offs, we don't have one teacher that has all these kids, they have like one-off kids, so they're in their class teaching all day long, and then they try to do their online kids after the fact. So it's easier when you have that, I guess, the thumb on the kid all the
Sure.
time, where you're dedicated to that.
Right.
And I believe that has a dip in it. And in the same time, with half the kids A and B day, myself and the counselors had less kids at school. I was on the phone calling people all day long, hey, he's missing this, hey, we gotta get our two-way interaction, he hasn't logged in 3 or 4 days. There was just more bodies available for the checks and balances for those kids as well.
So as I look at the trend for online for Linden schools, it's basically we're kind of weaning ourselves away from this as much as possible, because quite frankly, the results seem to be a lot better if they're involved in like an LIA program or traditional you know, I'm not a big fan of online, straight online, because I think the social interaction is a big component that's missed. And so I think the LIA program is a better option because there's more there's some social interaction, I feel that's better than having them just totally out in the wind in an online format. I guess I'm curious, how does this compare to homeschooling? Because that's kind of another straight online kind of activity, but it's gone through a different branch of education, you know, where I'm not exactly sure about that, as far as I know we have people that live in the district that participate in online or homeschooling, and I'd really like to find more information about that, as far as, they're using some sort of, they're using some sort of an entity now that kind of like helps teach them, right? It's not, I think back in the day, the old homeschooling thing was you did a lot as a parent on your own. You went out and got resources and yada, yada, yada. But now there's this entity out there that seems to be like doing a lot of the providing information, resources and stuff like that. So I guess that's your other option for online right now, traditionally, actually.
Without knowing a ton about homeschooling, I know they're under different regulations, they can offer different classes, they can do different things because it's not necessarily through the Michigan Department of Education. But they've been unique in how they've tried to enhance extracurriculars with the homeschool, they have different areas where they go to, so it's a different, I guess, niche market than an online. Someone can go straight through an online programmer, but others have still the, I guess, book and paper with the parent.
But it sounds like for us, for our case here, we're confident with the LAA program as the backup for traditional.
Yeah.
And when it's necessary, we'll do a full-blown online, but it's not the best option. I don't think the scores indicated.
And the other schools had similar scores, I mean, I could definitely break down more data to find out those who were successful, those who, but I mean, for overall picture of it,
Yeah.
the percent rate is fairly low, but other schools even reported lower success rate that I talked to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gates.
All right, any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Green.
Regarding cost, it appears that Edgenuity is the programming, correct?
We started with Odysseyware, and we switched to Edgenuity. We do it 3 district based, and it's just based on what can offer more for the kids. I believe Odysseyware was purchased by another company as well, so that's when we started to research different things. It's a negative aspect. The one thing is now AI has a bot that matches with Edgenuity, and it can basically kind of do the course for you. So any college-bound kid I feel very comfortable with that part, they know I can do that, but it's, with the whole technology these days, I don't know if there's a perfect online program that doesn't have something. You just rely on those kids.
Sure.
I do like Edgenuity more, the kids don't, because it makes them watch the entire video and work through the entire program. You can't click and speed through it, which is a big complaint of theirs, because they want to get through it. So it's a little more detailed with making them jump through the hoops to do the entire class.
Are the costs more on a cost per pupil basis, or is it a subscription and it doesn't matter where the student numbers go?
So we were fortunate to work with Edgenuity 3 years ago now, as a 3-district consortium. So they built the contract as one big district. So we pay by the students. It originally began just as a high school, and we have dipped it into additional add-ons because, you know, there may be a middle school program that we may want to look at. So we've been able to do that over the last 3 years. In fact, Cheryl just met with Lake Fenton and Fenton last week because that 3-year contract is up at the end of the year. So we're looking at, you know, re-upping again as a 3-district because, again, it's a lot cheaper.
Another benefit of the
Another benefit.
consortium. Okay, thank you.
On the note of the AI taking the class for you, colleges are dealing with that too. There's actually one that recently was just kind of shut down. I think it was called Einstein, because most colleges use either Blackboard or Canvas as their like learning management system. And there was a subscription you could buy and connect with your Canvas, and it would take the class for you basically. So this is only getting deeper as we move forward. So it'll be really interesting to see how we all move forward in this. You know, we all went, you know, everybody wants online technology, and now it's gone to the next level, and it's starting to reel back now. Professors are starting to give like blue book exams again. Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Gates. You take that big file now and send her to the shredder, right? All right, up next, we've got, Mr. Ciesielski is gonna give us some information on 27L funding.
Sure. So, yeah, Board, I just wanted to put this in front of you, that you have it on as an action item for later on the agenda. So 27L subsection 2. Basically, the Michigan School State Aid included language through the 27L version of school state aid that allocated funds to increase compensation for educators. So what they did this time, and compared to COVID money, if you remember some of the COVID monies that were set aside to increase compensation for educators, the state at that point defined an educator. This time around, they broadly defined an educator. Thus, any school employee the school determines to be an educator or is covered by a collective bargaining agreement is eligible to receive the 27L funds. So part of that language in 27L2, or excuse me, part of the School State Aid Act, with bargaining, a school must bargain with the unions over distribution of the 27L funds. So we have two bargaining unit members or bargaining unit organizations in our district. The Linden Education Association, and then the Employee Support Personnel. And so our teachers, our parapros, our maintenance workers, cafeteria workers, those are the two bargaining unit groups that we have. So what I did is I went to the LEA and the ESP, and I said, we've got this, how do we want to handle it? I've got to bargain with you guys. So right away, both groups indicated, we don't want to go through what we went through before. Why can't we distribute it to everybody? I said, great, let's put that together and see what it looks like. So we did, we put that together, and then I went and met with those ESP and LEA, met with other other groups, and some leaderships from those groups. For example, the administrators, the administrative assistants, the media and techs, some non-aligned folks. And we said, here's the plan, that we would use 27L2 funds to provide compensation to all LCS employees. Full-time workers, anybody who works more than 13 hours, and part-time workers, anybody who works less. So that kind of gives you an idea. We had about 247 qualified, I'll get to that in a minute, full-time workers, and 19 qualified part-time workers. Not included would be any third-party contracted workers or employees that we have. Transportation, custodian, our director of operations, any GACS employees, edu-staff employees, SROs. The employee must be an active employee of Linden Community Schools on or before October 7th and through June 5th of 2026. October 7th is when the budget went into place. Remember, they had that long delay from July 1 basically to October 7th. They signed it, boom, went into place. So we figured that was a great start for when an active employee would be eligible. Through June 5th is the last day of this school year for our students and our staff. So the employee has to finish the school year. 27L2 funds will be paid on payroll 26, which is the last pay. And then general fund monies will not be used. During the COVID times, we did use general fund monies. So this is an example when we did the calculations. Just these numbers are not 100%. So I want to make that very clear. We think we're close, but they're not accurate. So we received $342,000. Right away, we're going to take out the retirement rate that the district has to pay, which is 29.91. We're going to take out FICA. The district has to pay 50%, the employee pays 50%. District's responsibility is 7.65. We have the UAAL. And so some of you may remember this, if you've been around long enough, this is the state's infinite wisdom, where they give us the money up front to pay the MSPERS rate, and then we pay it back after we get our state aid. So it's just a roundabout of money. But again, we gotta pay 15.02% because the state didn't upfront that money to us. So you take out the district's deductions, you've got a total of about $224,000 to distribute. So what does that look like for the employee? For a full-time employee, about $874. For a part-time employee, about $437. And again, these estimates are figures, they're estimated figures. And please don't believe they're accurate, okay? Because only time will tell once we do the final calculations. Because you include the employee's retirement rate. That's different for almost every employee, depending on the retirement system you're in. The employee would be responsible for paying their portion of the FICA, which is 7.65%, giving them their net amount. It's also important to note that this is reportable compensation. So, next steps. Again, kind of start at the bottom, I guess. If the board approves this tonight, we'll move forward. We already have a letter of agreement signed by the ESP and the LEA. So the next step is for the board to approve. And if that's the case, then we'll send information out to our LCS employees to let them know what is happening and when they can expect the 2702 monies. Questions?
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, and the amount of information you provide here is really helpful, actually, in outlining all of it. I don't know, personally, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't approve it, but that's just me. Anybody have any other comments or questions regarding this? Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mrs. Law. Thank you, Mrs. Ciesielski, for the program. Let's go back to the beginning where you defined, it says that the school determines who an educator is. So that's you, us, I guess, right?
Sure.
Determining. So, again, I feel a little bit disappointed that I know that the bus drivers and the custodians are not part of our LCS employee team, but they are part of our team that deals with our students. So I'm a little hesitant to approve something that excludes them, not because they have to be excluded, but we're choosing to exclude them. Is that correct? Because we're determining that they're not an educator.
So, good question. Yes, we did make that determination. Some of that was guided by legal advice, because they are employed by, for example, our bus drivers are through Dean. We have a contract with Dean based on a certain amount of criteria, runs, number of students, so on and so forth. So us giving them additional money, even through this type of situation, again, would be a contractual negotiation that we would have to go through. I think the other thing we have to look at too, first and foremost, LEA and ESP are driving the bus, because there are bargaining unit groups.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's,
So,
yeah.
okay, so basically, you're telling me and us that we could pay them, we're just choosing not to pay them. We'd have to do some negotiations, and I'm sure that Dean or our custodial group would say, well, we don't want our employees to receive any money. I'm thinking they probably would say, yeah, well, sure, great, a little gift for them would be great. Recognizing that they do impact our kids too.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of the concern is the 30-hour cutoff. If you're working 29 hours, you're considered a part-time employee. If you're working 31, you're considered a full-time employee. I have a little problem with that. I think that should probably be qualified based on their schedule and prorated along that line. You know, if an employee is a 10-hour employee, then they get a quarter. If it's a 40-hour employee, they get the full amount. So I guess, and that's just a simple computer computation there. That's not something that can't be done. So I guess those are my two big concerns from what I'm seeing. I'm glad that the state has made this money available to help us recognize our employees, our educators, our people that deal with our kids. So I guess I got, I don't want to support this because I think there's holes in the setup. But obviously I want to see the money go out to our staff. It's just who and how much, so. I do like the fact that you've done it on a per employee basis and not based on how much they make or anything like that. But I think all these people that you excluded too, like the SRO, I think that's a person that, plays a role here. I mean, really does, at both schools. So they help our administration team deal with, conflicts with the students. So I think really in the GEX and edu staff and all those people, all to me have a role in our education of our students. So I think we should retool this and look at it from those two different perspectives of being more inclusive for everybody, and also taking the full part-time status and refining it a little bit more. So, those are my thoughts, thank you.
Any questions? Yeah.
I think you already, answered the, or presented this, but I just wanted to double check. So, the recess aides, hall monitors, cooks, secretaries, they all get some of this monies too, right?
That is correct.
Awesome, okay, I'm just thinking, if we still have jobs out there available that we need to fulfill for employment reasons, this is kinda nice too, cause would this be a yearly thing or just this year?
It's a one-time deal. And again, that person has to be employed on or before October 7th.
Okay.
So if we hired somebody tomorrow, they would not be eligible for these funds.
Right, but it shows like, hey, we care about our employees, and if we ever get extra monies in a way, we will give them to you and possibly equally if we can.
Yep.
So I like that, I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Haney?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to clarify what you said earlier, so we, via legal advice, they recommended to exclude the third party.
They did not recommend to exclude, but they indicated that that could be a lot more steps involved because of contracts that are already in place.
Okay. That's my only clarification, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any public comments this evening? We'll move along to the consent agenda then. The consent agenda includes minutes of our March 4th work session meeting, minutes from our March 4th closed session meetings, invoices for the month of February, and the personnel summary sheet. It is the administrative recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we do have a few action items up this evening. First being the GISD annual budget hearing delegate and alternate. We're kind of familiar with this process. The GISD holds a budget hearing, which is scheduled for Wednesday, April 29th, and the hearing begins at 5 p.m. It's hosted at the Innovation Zone at the Genesee Career Institute, and we have to, every school district has to vote for a delegate and alternate to represent our district during this hearing, no later than April 8th, so we need to make this an action item this evening. So it is the administrative recommendation to appoint a delegate and alternate, as indicated. Is anyone specifically interested in doing this?
I can be the alternate.
I know Ms. Hanson said she would be the delegate, it could be the delegate, Mr. Haney was the delegate last year, and said they had a good dinner, so if he wants to do it again. Okay, so, we will, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I know you've had issues in the past with like with the food. So if Brooke is the delegate and Dave is the alternate, are you okay with that? Okay, and he's done it before.
I felt bad.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So I will make a motion to, appoint Brooke Hanson as the delegate and David Haney as the alternate to attend the GISD annual budget hearing on Wednesday, April 29th. Do I have support?
Support.
Okay, so it's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Didn't even give them a chance to defend themselves. All right, thanks, yeah. It's getting better. All right. Up next is our technology purchase for Linden Middle School desktop computers. I know we've had the opportunity to kind of look through the information that Mr. Ciesielski, and Mr. Horsley have provided in advance. So, it is the administrative recommendation to approve the purchase of the LMS desktop computers as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments on this, purchase before we vote? Mr. Murphy?
Thank you.
Mr. Horson, you mentioned here somewhere along the way that we're facing a 30 to 40% increase. Is that based on what? Is that last year's prices? Is it 10 years ago's prices?
Yeah, so every year, where we purchase these computers from is a pre-bid, they go out for bid, to other companies, so they've gotten the preliminary pricing back in. The current price sheet that I received a few weeks ago has that 30 to 40% price increase applied due to a lot of the chip shortages, memory shortages, storage shortages that are going on right now with the AI boom. So, I was planning on purchasing these after April 1st, where the new models come out onto the bid, but when I saw that massive price increase, I couldn't wait, I didn't wanna wait for that, so the systems that they have on there right now are more than adequate.
So we're saying, we're beating the price increase basically.
Essentially, they gave us a heads up to say, hey, if you need any major purchases, you can do
We're
it now.
not necessarily getting the latest and greatest,
It's
but it's
not-
still pretty good.
No, and even with the years past, I was not buying the latest and greatest, just for the sake of, you got, high price increases when you get the absolute bleeding edge of tech, so we usually try to stay one step down from that. There's lots of value there.
Yeah. And these are, we're replacing 10-year-old units.
Yeah, some of them even a little older than that, yes.
So what will happen to those units?
We palletize them and they go off into a recycling company, electronic waste, and they do data destruction, we get a certificate.
So do we get a donation amount for that?
Sometimes they give us $1 per unit, there's no value at all associated with them. We're at this point, we're just happy that they pick them up and take it from us for free.
Okay. So there is no value to any other school district in Africa or anything like that?
Well, those recycling companies, they probably have some, I don't ask them what their business model is, so they probably do use some of it for donation, or maybe they might have a few dollars of value that they can find with it. Again, I don't discuss what their business model is, but I do frequently check on things that we're getting rid of to see if there is any value. So like Chromebooks, for example, we do get $7 a piece for the old ones. And some of the other stuff like the phones and access points, I have investigated to reach out to the companies that do the recycling to see if there's any residual value. And typically there's not, because we're stretching it to the very end before we're replacing it. Yeah.
I noticed there's only 90 monitors being purchased for 110 units. What's the discrepancy there?
Yeah, so what it is we do have a little bit leftover inventory from last year from the previous, doing Central and Hyatt. Also, some stations are getting one monitor. Typically, if it's just a support station or like a student station, they only will get one monitor, but every teacher station gets 2 monitors. So I just ran the numbers on the exact amount, or close to the amount that we would need. We usually buy a little bit extra just because we don't have, when we were working the last couple weeks of the summer to get set up, you don't have time to send stuff back for repair and get back, So
Right.
you have to go buffer.
So we've got more than 20 to 30 monitors sitting around from last year's purchase?
We've got 8 or 10 teacher monitors, and then we've probably got 10 or 15 student monitors that are in storage right now.
So we're just getting over that 110 when you add the 90 to that number?
Yeah.
But that's enough. We're covered
Yeah.
with just purchasing 90.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for heading this out and getting this good price, because 40% more doesn't sound like a fun thing to pay.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? All right, seeing none, there is motion and support to approve the purchase of the LMS desktop computers as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, circling back to the 27L2 compensation, it is the administrative recommendation to approve the 27L2 compensation, letter of agreement as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and supported to approve the 27L2 compensation as presented. Any further questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion. If we, we're going at this point, table it and look at numbers, how they would change if we included more employees in some fashion, and if we looked at it from a concept of portion of the employee, whether they're truly a full, part-time, quarter-time, half-time, just looking at dissipating the funds based on their hours scheduled versus their, versus just being a simple cutoff 30 or less.
So there's already a motion and support to approve, so you'd like to amend the motion
Yeah.
to not approve?
Well, to table it to this point, so we could see different numbers generated by those factors, looking more on
that's not like the motion, though, that's like the rationale, so you're looking to table the motion. So is there a second to that?
Yeah.
All right, seeing no support for that, fails, so we'll go back to the original motion. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just after the discussion, I think part of the issue is that even though the attorney said that you could go back and negotiate potentially, in my mind, if you don't do that, then you risk the co-employment aspect of now obviously if they're our employee, we can dictate how we're going to distribute monies, but the reason you have to go back and negotiate all these other contracts is because of co-employment and the issue around potentially distributing monies to other employer entities. And then to further complicate that, Mr. Ciesielski listed a handful of those third parties, but there are many other third parties that we could consider. So in my mind, that just really complicates things. The definition is educator. I think that we've got a good agreement with what we have determined falls under educator. It even mentions the collective bargaining agreement. We've got those entities in agreement, so I'm in support of the motion on the table.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other comments, the motion in support is to approve the 27L2 compensation as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
Great, motion carries. All right, our last action item for this evening is with regard to our school psychologist contract from February 23rd, 2026 through June 30th, 2026. As information has been provided to us, one of our school psychologists is out on FMLA right now, so this would be like a kind of a stopgap, if you will, like an in-between if we need extra support to provide services to students as needed. So it is the administrative recommendation to approve the school psychologist contract as presented. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
And I'll support that. So it's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments regarding this? Mr. Murphy?
I think Ms. Luck, I think this is a very financially viable way to meet our needs, and in the sense that we don't really know whether we'll need to fully utilize the number of hours that the person who's out on leave would give us. So it gives us a chance to maybe not spend as much as we would have if we had a full-time employee on staff that was making that. So I think it's the best financial option for the district. I think it meets the needs of the students and finances. So that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, the motion and support is to approve the school psychologist contract as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we do not have any discussion items this evening. There's no closed session this evening, so at 6:53, we are adjourned. And students who are here for class, any of us can sign your paper for you. It's almost spring, everyone. I feel like it yet, but it will be soon.
Start reading, there you go.